Tonight at 10, the untold story in the Susan Powell case. After 3 years of extensive investigation, KSL reveals never-before-seen video and interviews. Plus, the push to bring the Olympics back to Utah. The rare meeting happening tomorrow with both Utah and Olympic leaders.
But first, the search for a dog killer. One family's warning after their pet was killed in their own backyard.
KSL News starts now.
Good evening. Tonight, Utah County deputies are looking for help finding whoever shot and killed a dog in a family's backyard.
Yeah, this is the second unsolved shooting death of a dog in Eagle Mountain in the past 7 months. While police continue to investigate, news specialist Caitlin Burchill spoke to the latest victim's family. Caitlin?
The Utah County Sheriff's Office tells me both these shootings happened near each other north of Highway 73 in Eagle Mountain. And while at this point they don't know if they're related, as you can imagine, the family I spoke to is in shock.
This doggy licks me.
It does. Dogs are part of the Lobb family. Aww. On this especially dark night,
yeah, I found her back here by this tree.
It's obvious they're missing a family member.
I like Roxy.
Leanza Lobb found 5-year-old Roxy dead Sunday afternoon.
She was a great dog. We took her camping with us. My kids loved her.
The Australian Shepherd shot dead in their own backyard near Autumn and Elk Ridge Drives.
Everybody has dogs over here. I'm still shocked at why it even happened. I have no idea.
Utah County deputies say Roxy was fenced in. Roxy's partner, Red, and their puppies were not injured.
And I don't know if somebody was just messing around and she just happened to catch a bullet or what. They were thinking maybe a BB gun or a pellet gun.
Now the Lobb family is looking for answers. Who did this to their loved one?
Something come forward that we can find out who did this, because it's a scary thing to think of somebody coming around just shooting into people's yards, whether it's a dog, an animal, or a child.
Now, the Utah County Sheriff's deputies are asking anyone, if you have any information or if you might have security footage of the area, to give them a call. Call their Eagle Mountain office or the Utah Valley Dispatch phone number. Back to you.
Yeah, it's a shame. Hopefully they can find whoever did this. Caitlin, thank you. And as we mentioned, this is the second time in the past year a dog has been shot and killed in Eagle Mountain. Back in April, a family found their Pomeranian dead in their neighbor's yard. Police are still looking for whoever's responsible and believe the gun used was a .22 rifle or a pellet gun. The Humane Society is also offering a $5,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest.
New at 10, the only survivor of an industrial accident at a mine near Moab has died. The San Juan County Sheriff confirms Arthur Seacrest died of his injuries today. He was one of 3 workers who were electrocuted at the Intrepid Potash last weekend. The other 2 men, Russell Hellquist and Matthew Johnson, died at the scene. Wildfires continue to burn out of control in both northern and southern California. Right now, dozens of Utah firefighters are on Southern California lines helping with the Woolsey fire. Several crews are fighting on the fire lines. Other Utah teams are waiting to jump in to replace tired firefighters who've been working nonstop. The crews tell us they are ready at a moment's notice. The fires are now blamed for the deaths of 50 people, and that figure could rise as recovery search crews look for the dozens of people still missing. In Southern California, Santa Ana winds continue fueling the Woolsey fire. So far, that fire has destroyed more than 430 structures. Hundreds of residents who'd just been allowed to return home were forced to turn around and flee again after a large flare-up south of Thousand Oaks. In Northern California, the horror stories of people escaping the campfire flames are still fresh. One woman says she thought she and her daughter were going to die in their car surrounded by flames.
I kept praying, Lord Jesus, keep me safe, keep my car running, keep us going, get us out of here.
They made it. Dozens of others, though, did not. Mobile DNA labs are now working in Northern California to identify remains found in burned-out cars and homes.
Kevin, join us right now. Earlier, we were reporting on some of the winds could be almost like hurricane-force winds that are going through there.
Yeah, you're dealing with not only the Santa Ana winds, but because of the canyon locations and the intensity that comes through there, they do have wind gusts of 60, 70, 75 miles an hour, which do elevate you into that hurricane status. This is the current temperature on the color plot, and then you can see the wind vanes that are actually the streamlines. What's happening is the high pressure's off the California coast. So now, yesterday the winds were straight north to south over California. Now they're starting to curve around that high and come back out of the east to west. That orientation is what really accelerates the winds through the Santa Ana area as well as, through the mountain areas, and it creates that intensity of the Santa Ana wind effect. Let me show you our time lapse today in Utah. We had some hazy conditions. We've got about moderate to unhealthy air quality for some. And as those clouds were out there tonight, temperatures not quite as cold as they were in the last night. As you look around the west, our overall temperatures are still in the 30s and 40s, 20s off to the east. So how cold is it going to be for the rest of the week, and do we have any storms coming? Your forecast is straight ahead.
All right, Kevin, thanks. And fire crews say the threat of the wildfires is far from over. Stay with KSL as we continue to follow the fight to get them under control and the stories from our Utah fire crews helping in that fight. Tonight, we are learning more about services planned for Major Brent Taylor after his body is brought back to Utah tomorrow. Major Taylor, who was also the mayor of North Ogden, was killed while serving in Afghanistan. His body is expected to arrive at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the Roland R. Wright Air National Guard Base. Then on Friday, an open to the public viewing is scheduled from 5 o'clock until 8 in the evening at the D Events Center. Then the funeral will take place Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, also at the D Events Center. Major Taylor will be buried afterwards at the Ben Lomond Cemetery in North Ogden. We're going to have live coverage right here on KSL 5, on the KSL 5 Facebook page, and on our KSL TV app.
The mother of University of Utah student Lauren McCluskey wants charges against the person who lent her daughter's killer the gun. Lauren's mother tweeted today that she wants that friend held responsible. McCluskey was shot and killed on campus last month. Police say Melvin Rowland borrowed the gun he used to shoot her from a friend. They say he lied to that friend, asking to borrow the gun because his girlfriend wanted to learn how to shoot. Rowland is a convicted felon who couldn't own or buy a gun. As of tonight, there have been no charges filed in this case.
Salt Lake County Mayor Ben McAdams in Washington tonight preparing for the orientation for new representatives. This comes as the race for Utah's 4th congressional district is still too close to call. The results of tens of thousands of ballots were released today, and now there is less than 1 percentage point between McAdams and incumbent Mia Love. Look at that, only about 1,200 votes separating these two. And today, we got to look inside the processing room where ballots are checked by machine and a person. Utah County plans to release more results on Friday. Now, they still have 27,000 outstanding ballots. In Salt Lake County, they could have as many as 50,000 still waiting to be counted. Well, a big day tomorrow as members of the U.S. Olympic Committee visit Salt Lake as part of their process for selecting an American City bid for a future Winter Games.
And news specialist Ashley Moser joins us live from Utah's Olympic Oval with a preview tonight. Ashley?
Well, Mike and Deanie, likely little sleep tonight for Utah's Olympic Exploratory Committee. They are the ones hosting that 5-person USOC team tomorrow, and they say it's going to be a very busy day with site visits to at least 10 places here in the state, including here at the Olympic Oval in Kearns. They are also heading up to Park City, so a lot of driving going around to check out the bobsled, the luge, also the skeleton track there, and the ski jumps. And the big goal here is to see if our facilities are up to par for a future Winter Games. Now, important to note that these facilities have actually been in use since the '02 Games, and that, of course, helps out with our bid. It also helps bring down the cost to host games. The Exploratory Committee set the overall price to host future games at just over $1.35 billion. Also on the agenda for tomorrow, a midday luncheon with Governor Herbert and Salt Lake City Mayor Jackie Biskupski. That's planned at the University of Utah's Rice-Eccles Stadium. That's the site of the opening and closing ceremonies, which coincidentally, we learned today that it announced the stadium is getting an upgrade. So we were wondering, does this help with the bid?
Certainly, that's another example during the visit tomorrow of the investment being made into an Olympic venue. Opening and closing ceremonies were there. We're looking at an $80 million bond. We're looking at having more seating there, which is great for Olympics.
Yeah, they plan to add 5,200 more seats. That was approved today by the University of Utah Board of Trustees. But it wasn't because of the bid. They just say it's a coincidence here, but likely it doesn't hurt in that bid, as Jeff Robbins was saying right there. So earlier this week, Reno Tahoe actually dropped out of the running, which only leaves Denver and Salt Lake City for a future Winter Games here in the U.S. The U.S. Olympic Committee says they will make their decision hopefully by the end of the year. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I'm liking our chances with this. 50-50, right?
Right?
All right. Ashley.
Hey, Denver, drop out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ashley.
After 3 years of extensive investigation, KSL reveals never-before-seen video and interviews.
I'm just like, this is not going to end well.
Cold, Susan Powell Case Files, The Untold Story, coming up next.
It was 3 years ago tonight that Susan Powell was last seen.
In the years since Susan Powell disappeared, hundreds of tips, interviews, and searches have come up empty. There's been no sign of the mother of two since 2009, but her story has stayed in the headlines.
Developing news tonight in the case of Susan Cox Powell. It's been 8 years since she went missing.
She's been the subject of news reports, documentaries, and endless speculation about what really happened.
A lot of people just want to know, what you know about her disappearance. Can you tell us?
After years in the spotlight and under the microscope of police, her husband, Josh, took his secrets to the grave, along with their 2 children. But there were some secrets he left behind.
Tonight, KSL cracks open the secret Susan Powell case files.
And what we're about to show you is only the beginning here. Investigative reporter Dave Cawley has spent the last 3 years painstakingly chronicling all the evidence detectives had in this confounding case for a riveting serial podcast, and we're calling this Cold.
Yeah, this has certainly been a laborious and eye-opening journey. These new secrets in the Susan Powell saga giving us new unparalleled insight into one of Utah's biggest and most disturbing mysteries.
Dozens of files, tens of thousands of documents, journals, and letters, tape after tape of home videos, and Josh's own eerie audio journals.
Susan makes me want to live better so that we can love each other and stay together forever.
Combined, they are the tangible testimony to years of arduous detective work aimed at finding a woman who simply vanished.
Hey, Susan, I'm just worried about you.
But in sorting through all the old evidence, we discovered brand new revelations, including Josh's minute-by-minute movements in the first days after Susan's disappearance, and new details about that mysterious drive in a rental car.
He put like 800 miles on that rental car. He was driving to meet Michael, somewhere between here and Washington.
Anyway, I just wanted to get you in that dress. That's
the shocking true extent of Steve Powell's obsession and even stalking of his daughter-in-law.
I started massaging her legs. I would have loved to go all the way up her legs.
And then, hidden in Josh's journals,
I don't have to worry about whether or not I will get hurt.
We found a woman not even police knew existed until we told them.
What was it like living with Josh?
This is Catherine Everett,
When we first moved there,
Josh's first and only other serious girlfriend.
he was always the ultimate winner.
Catherine may have the most insight into who he really was and what he was capable of.
At the time, of course, I thought I was happy.
In digging deeper into Catherine's life with Josh and his marriage to Susan, some startling similarities emerged. Josh met both women at local church events.
The first time I met him was an activity.
No coincidence, says Susan's father, Chuck Cox.
I definitely felt like he was shopping in LDS areas for young girls who believed in the happy marriage and listened to your husband.
He didn't want me to have any friends. He only wanted me to have him.
Josh controlled with isolation.
He needed a cell phone, she didn't need one.
And in both relationships, he managed the money.
Every time I got my check, he'd have me sign it, and then he'd stick it in his account.
She was working because he wouldn't work. In that way, she was basically just an asset or a slave.
I was an asset to him.
But Catherine Everett got away.
It's actually kind of creepy. He really kept me on a short leash, and I didn't even realize that that's what was going on.
And neither did Susan.
She was eternally optimistic.
In first-time interviews for Cold, detectives detailed dead ends and turning points in the investigation.
Yeah, that opened the door for us.
And the one thing they believe would have forced Josh to reveal what really happened. Josh Powell, of course, was never arrested in his wife's disappearance or her presumed murder. But for years, it seemed police were just one piece of evidence away, and Josh was somehow just one step ahead.
I think his guilty conscience was slowly eating away at him.
3 years, thousands of files, more than 24 new interviews.
The evidence, his story, spotlight right on one guy.
Cold examines the Susan Powell story you have not heard, starting with the woman who got away, only to see her ex-boyfriend's face on the TV 10 years later.
Are you sure it's really him? And I'm like, yeah, it's really him. This is not going to end well. Knowing the way that he was, ultimately, I think we all know that was the case.
Catherine has never spoken about her relationship with Josh to anyone outside of her family before now. And she wasn't alone. I've talked to a dozen people who were finally ready to break their silence. We've looked through the evidence and even conducted our own tests to try and determine what one key piece of evidence still unidentifiable to the FBI could have been. And I explore the one question, besides where is Susan, that the world wanted answered. Why wasn't any of this ever enough to arrest Josh?
And Dave, there is so much information here. How did you get your hands on all of this evidence?
Yeah, I mean, this was certainly a process that took years. New requests, document requests. We traveled from Utah to Washington and back to try to track down evidence that had been lost or set aside, mislaid, and it's all coming out now for the first time.
All right. Very interesting. You've spent years working on this, and I can't wait to check out the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
And it is a Susan Powell story none of us have heard, and we are giving you early access to our new Cold podcast series. Episode 1, originally due out tomorrow, is available right now on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Take a look at Chopper 5 today, flying over the valley here along the Wasatch Front. Our temperatures were on the cool side. And snow, it's up in the mountains, although limited, but it's enough to actually get things opened up on some ski resorts. I'll have some info on that in just a minute. Each weekly, usually on Monday night, we announce our weekly winner. Well, this week it's Tuesday because of the holiday yesterday. Weston Shuri, your shot at Park City with that snow over the weekend. Congratulations. You're our second weekly winner for the month of November. You've won a frame print. Compliments of Les Olson. You're featured right now at KSL.com. With the viewers, you'll have a chance to vote at the end of the month. Just a reminder, our 2019 calendars, they're in Deseret bookstores right now. You can pick them up. All proceeds benefit Primary Children's Hospital. We hope you'll continue to support this great cause. Some stunning pictures in this year's calendar. So thanks to all the photographers who've made that happen. 2 resorts coming online Thursday and Friday. Brighton will open first, Bryan Head running second, Park City not far behind. They're scheduled for the 21st, Snow Basin as well. Now, all of these on the lower side of the list are conditions pending, but Brighton and Bryan Head, they're going for it, and they're going to open up. It's going to be, they've got the runs open, not all the runs, but some of the runs open for limited use, and should be a great way to kick off the 2018-19 season. It's 29 in Ogden, 33 in Salt Lake, and 26 in Provo. A little bit of cloud cover filtering in from the west. Now, it's not going to last long. In fact, it's really already falling apart. As it gets to Utah, it just kind of wafts into little pieces. But what will happen over the next 24 hours is there is a big area of high pressure still sitting off the coast. This batch of clouds will continue to work its way east and kind of dissipate. We'll still see plenty of sunshine tomorrow, but that high pressure is starting to slide a little bit farther south. What that's going to do is open the door for a storm system to creep in here by Friday, Saturday. It's not a direct hit on Utah. It'll brush by, but it will give us a chance for a little bit of precipitation, especially in our mountains. And there was a little sundog out there today, so the odds are trending up. As you see through Thursday and even into early Friday, mostly sunny conditions. It's Friday night into Saturday that I think we'll see those clouds increase here in northern Utah as that little storm brushes on by. In the meantime, teens and 20s overnight, lots of sunshine. Highs will be in the 40s and 50s across eastern Utah. Moving over to western Utah, 64 in St. George, 53 in Beaver, and 50 degrees in Fillmore, 49 in Ephraim. 7-day forecast. Our temperatures continue to go in the mid-60s right on through Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and then we start to drop, low 60s rolling out Monday and Tuesday of next week. I still think there's a storm trying to come together for right before Thanksgiving, so stay tuned for that. 20s tonight in Ogden and Salt Lake, highs in the upper 40s and low 50s, mostly sunny conditions tomorrow. 7-day forecast doesn't really take us too warm. We'll peak at 54 on Friday ahead of that little brush by storm, and then we're dropping back into the 40s for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
All right, looks good, looks promising. We'll
It's
hope.
promising. Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, JJ coming up next with sports. The latest college football playoff rankings were released Tuesday night. And for the first time ever, 2 Utah schools make the top 25 together. The 9-1 Utah State Aggies.
50. Here we go. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, Darwin Thompson.
Yeah, the Aggies are in. They make their debut in the rankings at number 23. Their second highest ranked group of 5 school behind number 11, UCF. The Utes. How about the Utes?
Takes the snap, backpedals, fires inside, incomplete! Incomplete! Jalen Johnson broke it up!
That's right, Utah back in the college football playoff rankings. They're number 19 after their win over Oregon. We'll be with the Utes and Aggies in Colorado on Saturday as both teams push toward a conference title. College hoops, BYU hosting Northwestern State, the Demons from Natchitoches, Louisiana. Yoli Childs dunks in 2 of his 18 points. He also had 15 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal and 3 assists. This one to freshman Connor Harding, who had 11 points off the bench, and Dalton Nixon had 15 points on 5 of 9 shooting. The Cougars cast the Demons out of the Marriott Center, 82-57. Utah State hosting Mississippi Valley State. Former Brighton Bengal Brock Miller lighting up the Delta Devils, knocks down the 3. Then the closing seconds of the half, Miller beats the buzzer. He went 6 of 11 from 3, led all scores at 26. But the highlight of the game belonged to John Knight, a new face with the Aggies. He's from Jackson, Mississippi. Throwing one down. Sam Merrill at 18, and the Aggies win big tonight. All right, for Ricky Rubio, the fight against cancer is personal. His mother passed away in May of 2016 after a 4-year battle with lung cancer. She was just 56 years old. He turned the most painful moment of his life into motivation to make a difference for others battling the disease.
It was so painful seeing her going through all the stuff that it drives me to really help other people who's going through that.
Ricky has found answers at the Huntsman Cancer Institute. He recently visited patients, surprising them with jazz tickets and apparel.
All right, I brought tickets for the game tomorrow. It's not easy. There's sometimes that why I have to go to the hospital and bring back bad memories. But at the end of the day, when I go back home and I remember all the patients that I can help and families that can go to a game and have a little fun while going through a tough process, it fills me up. One of the promises that I made to my mom was I'm going to try to fight that disease and try to bring more awareness about that type of cancer so they can get it quicker and it's easier to treat.
There's a small cell lung cancer and a non-small cell lung cancer.
He also spent time with doctors, nurses, and researchers, supporting the work they are doing to find a cure.
After seeing all the research and all the work the doctors put in, it's amazing. The real heroes are them. They saving life. You see when you actually going through all the process, you see how a doctor is a hero.
Ricky's mother never smoked. She had a healthy lifestyle, and she still got lung cancer. There's a lung cancer that's not caused by smoking.
Right.
So you learn all these things. He's learned these things, and they're doing some amazing stuff up at the Huntsman Cancer Institute with research, and there's some breakthroughs. So there's a lot of positive news up there.
Well, it's fun to see that side of jazz members.
Yeah, I
so
love it.
thanks.
We don't always see the great things they're doing, and they're doing some great stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, real quickly here, we just want to let you know, if you are having a hard time finding the Cold podcast series on iTunes or Google Play, you can go to KSLTV.com and download it directly from there. We'll be right back.
Going to download Cold for the ride home tonight. Check it out. Thanks for watching tonight.
Have a good night.